Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
They've been effective in doing that, and they've worn people down, and they've brought up a generation or so that a large number of those people think this is the way it is. And so they're getting pretty arrogant and cocky about it. They see the possibility of having success and accomplishing their goals.
I think they're arrogant because they're planning huge false flag terror attacks. And if you look at their body language and the things they're saying, the last time they said this was before 9/11. And the time before that, it was right before Oklahoma City, which, of course, you spearheaded exposing as an inside job. Does your gut tell you they're getting ready to false flag?
Nothing would surprise me anymore, Alex. I tell you, I don't think there's many things that we can put past a lot of these people. It's amazing what they will do and what they've done so far. They have engineered this because of their own policies and the things they've done. They've engineered the problems that we have today, both economically and physically, and otherwise regarding the constitutional freedoms, civil liberties that we have. You know, they continue to cause the problem. They come back with alleged answers, supposed answers to it, their solutions, and they just take more freedoms away and take more of our property and our wealth away from us. It is time the people stand up. You know, what amazes me is how so few number of people can bring under submission, or almost bring under submission, a nation of over 300 million people. It's really amazing that we're allowing this to happen. And all we have to do is stand up. We don't have to have a violent revolution or anything. We just need to stand up and take back control.
Well, I'll tell you how they're doing it. It's television, which is admittedly a mind control device, and they have dumbed the public down so far, and they've used all these crises they've created to try to sell the public. But even though in every major poll, 98% in major polls, 1,000-to-1 phone calls in Congress against the last banker takeover, many polls are as high as 70% against this one, even though it's tailored as supposedly a bailout for the people when it's not, federal takeover. This, for folks that don't know, if you've studied history, and I want your take on this, Representative Charles Key, a Republican from Oklahoma, this isn't just some big government takeover. This mirrors a mix of Stalinist, Maoist / Nazi systems. And even the Washington Post admits that, but they say it's a good thing that this, looks like the classic mass movements of the past. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. Can you speak to that?
Well, I don't disagree with that. It's the frog getting boiled slowly in the pot of water, and we have to face up to that and realize it. We have to lose our illusions about, with this country being the country that many of us were raised in, or what it used to be. It's not that right now, but it is slowly transforming. We've gone down the road quite a bit, and they continue to use the propaganda tools that they can use and the various, instruments and institutions that they can use in our culture and society to get people to think the way they want them to think, and to get us to move down the road where they want us. But we have to face up to the facts, and the facts are very clear. If we don't turn this around, if we don't have the personal and corporate fortitude to stand up and fight this, then we can know where we're going to end up, because it's the same thing that's happened throughout history. Many of them are doing this, but they also have to depend on a lot of people just standing by and watching it happen, either out of fear or they're just, covering their own backside.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, not just on the ground and doing thousands of radio interviews myself and traveling the country and the world, that it's people standing down. Most people know we're in trouble. They're freaked out. They're upset. They know that criminals have taken control of both major parties, and they know the New World Order is real now. It's all over the news as they try to sell it. They are afraid, or they don't have enough respect for themselves to believe they can fight back. But if you really study the success you've had, I've had, many others have had, if we just fight back, we can stop them. It's just too many people are sitting by and counting on those of us in the front lines to keep carrying this on. They don't realize we need them to join us in the front lines, not behind us, but right beside us. And there is a major ray of sunshine here. There's many rays of sunshine. The biggest one, obviously, is that Oklahoma passed a resolution saying we're not going to allow UN takeovers and gun confiscation and UN and all this. And then the feds bombed you to teach you to love them, to teach you that they're the savior. With Oklahoma City that you've exposed. Now we've got, it's 10 states now, it's grown 3 more since last week, introducing bills to say no to the feds. And in there, I'm sure you've had a chance to read over some of the others, it's saying we're not going to put up with martial law. We're not putting up with gun confiscation. We're going to instruct our state police to resist. Can you speak to what Oklahoma did? And I really think that's the model that we now see expanding around the country.
Well, I do think we're the model, and I'm proud of what we've done with the 10th Amendment resolution. We did pass it in the House last year. I've refiled it this year. It's going to be heard in committee tomorrow. It'll pass. And Oklahoma took over the Oklahoma Republican Party took over the Senate in the state of Oklahoma for the first time in history. So now we have control of the Senate, and I feel very confident we're going to pass it out of the Senate very soon. And it will be the first one, I believe, that will have passed in both bodies in a state. It didn't pass last year because the Democrats had a little bit more control in a split body in the Senate, and they had a sharing agreement, so a Democratic senator refused to let it be and get a hearing. We're going to fix that this year. But, the problem is that, we've got a lot of problems that we're trying to overcome. And, one of the other things that Oklahoma did, trying to think of which ones to talk about first, Alex. One of the things Oklahoma did, and I'm proud of us here in Oklahoma, just to kind of toot our horn a little bit, we passed a bill in 2007 that said we will not participate as a state in the Real ID Act. Well, I'm real proud of Oklahoma for being either the first or one of the first states to actually pass legislation that said we will not do this, and state agencies are not to comply with it. We came back in 2008 with additional legislation, myself and Senator Brogdon in Oklahoma State Senate and some other legislators trying to pass legislation to further tie down the state agencies from sharing information of our citizens with any organization, the feds or any other international organization, whether that be biometrics, Social Security numbers, and a number of other things. Well, what we had happen is we had the federal Homeland Security start interjecting themselves behind the scenes. We found this out as a fact. We then had our own Department of Public Safety come in and start lobbying against us, against my bills over in the House, and it really ticked me off. We had a bunch of powwows with the head of the DPS in Oklahoma and his lobbyist, and they continued to try to kill our legislation behind the scenes, and frankly, they were successful to hold it back. Well, we've come back this year with some additional legislation, and we're trying to further tie the hands of anyone that wants to do the bidding of the federal government, the federal Homeland Security, or anyone else.
Well, Representative Key, as you know, they have now openly announced Northcom runs the U.S. under PDD 51. They tell the governors that they serve at the pleasure of the president. They're now dual-hatted federal officers. This is martial law. That's basically what we're under now. And, of course, the state police were chartered by Roosevelt during the Depression. They're really federal. Under the state charters, they're there, but they were really set up by the feds. And so the state needs to remove the DPS director, Department of Public Safety director, if they don't do what the legislature says. So I just love how you're standing up for the 10th Amendment here. Expanding out on that, as this crisis deepens, we know the states are going to be the main bulwark against globalism. To explain it to people, the internationalists have taken over our federal government. So this isn't even a question of fighting the feds. They're now globalist. They're now fully under international treaties and control. They're illegitimate. We must declare sovereignty at the state level, and that's why if you look at what Northcom and the John Warner Defense Authorization Act and PDD 51 state, it's all about using 20,000 U.S. Homeland Security Brigade Army troops against the states. How aware of this are you, Representative Key? B, what is the sense of the legislature? Are they finally starting to realize that this is real, this is really happening?
Well, yeah, and that reminds me of a story I was going to tell as we've been talking here. Last year, I started telling those stories about Real ID because of this one story I want to tell. After 2007, we passed the bill that rejected Real ID in Oklahoma. Then in 2008, I had the 10th Amendment resolution and additional Real ID legislation. Well, the Oklahoma Republican Party has taken over the House here in Oklahoma the last few years. So I'm on the House floor last year. I'm on the Democratic side of the floor working these bills.